Happy October, monster fans, and welcome back to another video. In past videos, we looked briefly at the lives and career highlights of horror legends Bela Lugosi and Lon Chaney. In this video, we shine a light for arguably the greatest face in horror history, the one and only Boris Karloff.
Joseph, I'll show you how they birthed them.
Karloff was born William Henry Pratt on November 23rd of 1987 in England. He was the youngest of 9 children, and after his mother's death was brought up by his older siblings. He attended King's College, London. However, in 1909, he left the university without graduating and departed to Canada, where he became a farm laborer and eventually stumbled upon acting. He chose the stage name of Boris Karloff while beginning his theatrical performances in Canada. While trying to establish his acting career, Karloff worked for many years as a manual laborer in Canada and the US in order to make ends meet. He suffered from back problems throughout his life and did not enlist in World War I due to his health. According to Karloff, his first film appearance was as an extra in a Universal film in which he was paid $5. Once making it to Hollywood, Karloff made many silent films. 1919's The Masked Rider is his earliest surviving film. Entering the 1920s, Karloff did many roles, including his first major role in a film serial called The Hope Diamond Mystery. He went on to be in many films throughout the 1920s, including The Greater Glory, Flaming Fury, 2 Arabian Nights, and The Devil's Chaplain. Howard Hawks' The Criminal Code in 1931 was a prison drama that brought Karloff major recognition, where he played a dramatic part that he had played previously on the stage. Karloff's life would change forever in 1931 with the role of Frankenstein's monster in James Whale's Frankenstein. The role was physically demanding. It required Karloff to wear a bulky costume and huge platform boots. However, the makeup created by legendary makeup artist Jack Pierce has left its mark on cinema history. Karloff brought great humanity to the role of the monster and would go on to play the role in 2 more films. In Whale's sequel, The Bride of Frankenstein, where Karloff went further with humanizing the character due to the incorporation of dialogue for the monster. He then returned to the role for the final time for Son of Frankenstein, a fantastic film that unfortunately reduces the role of the monster and takes away some of the human elements Boris Karloff had worked so hard to inject into his portrayal in previous films. Karloff would leave the role behind for good, feeling that the monster had run its course when it came to quality storytelling. After taking on the role of the Frankenstein monster, Karloff would be launched into horror stardom and would work once again with director James Whale on 1932's The Old Dark House, based on the novel by J.B. Presley. It was also a film where he finally gained top billing. Again in 1932, Karloff would cement himself in the horror genre with The Mummy, where he portrayed the role of Imhotep, another role that would become an icon of horror and a staple Universal monster. 2 years later, in 1934, Karloff would begin a collaboration with Dracula star Bela Lugosi in The Black Cat. In the film, the 2 actors portray rivals, an idea that many thought was indicative of their off-screen relationship. Whatever their off-screen relationship was, the 2 actors gave great performances and would play so well off each other that they'd star in more films together, including 1935's The Raven. During World War II, horror had taken a back seat to the real-world horrors of the war. In 1944, near the end of the war, Karloff would return to Universal catalog with House of Frankenstein, the first crossover film including all 3, Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Frankenstein monster. Instead of playing the monster this time, he would now take on the role of the mad scientist, Dr. Neiman. After the war, during the late 40s and early 50s, Karloff would appear in film noir projects, frequent guest roles on radio programs, and perform on Broadway. In 1952, he teamed up with comedy team Abbott and Costello for a second time on Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. In the 1960s, Karloff would do a number of films for American International Pictures and Roger Corman, including The Raven, The Terror, and Mario Bava's Black Sabbath. 1966, he lent his voice for the animated Christmas classic, Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. He would also do voice acting work on the Halloween classic Mad Monster Party. In 1968's Targets, Boris Karloff would portray a retired horror film actor, Byron Orlog. Orlog faces an end-of-life crisis and has a confrontation with a disturbed young gunman at a drive-in theater. Karloff passed away on February 2nd of 1969 at age 81. He left the world leaving behind a great legacy of work. His roles would inspire fear, sorrow, joy, and love in audiences. He put all into every character he portrayed, and has cemented himself as not just an icon of horror films, but of all of cinema history. Thanks for tuning in to another video. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Karloff